Welcome to Call Before Showing, a podcast where we help real estate pros navigate the emotional ups and downs of the real estate business
and hear the stories of real people who buckle in and ride the roller coaster with us.
Are you ready? Let's go. Hey y'all, welcome to the Call Before Showing podcast. Today we're talking with our really good friend, Sally Sheard, who is a realtor that literally sits right next to me in my office. So she is an amazing mom, a great realtor. She is one of those people that you meet her and you automatically feel comfortable and you feel like you've known her forever. So we really look forward to speaking with her today. So hey, Sally.
Hey.
And Alex is here as well. Hey, Alex.
Sally is one of those people that I have always felt really has her stuff together. Before I became a mom, I watched her work and be a mom and thought, oh, that's how I'll be. Like, she does it perfectly. And I'm here to ask, have you been lying this whole time?
Maybe I'm just really good at putting on a good front. I don't know.
Make it look easy. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So the short story of where I'm from is I was born in Missouri. I moved to England when I was almost 9. I went to school there, came back to the States when I was about 18, and I've been back and forth ever since. But I moved to Virginia 7.5 years ago when I married my husband, who I met online. We dated long distance for 3.5 years. He was very, very persistent and wore me down. And so far, he's a man from the internet who has not killed me. I think he's playing the long game if that's what he's trying to do. And then we had Lucy almost 5 years ago. She'll be 5 in April. And I actually started real estate when she was about 18 months old. So I did my real estate license while she would sleep at night. So it took me a while to do it. But I'm really excited with what I do. And I do love the quote flexibility that it gives us and just learning how to navigate that and make sure that my family's really well taken care of.
So what made you want to become a realtor?
My grandmother was a realtor in Missouri. She was very successful. And I had always seen her do that, but I'd never been at a point in my life where it was okay if I didn't get a paycheck. So when I moved here to Virginia, I was working as an office manager at a church, and it kind of reached the point where I had done everything that I could do, and it was just at a maintaining point, and that didn't give me a lot of joy. So my husband's like, you've always wanted to do it, give it a try. And if you fail, we'll pick up the pieces and do something else. But he goes, I think you can really do it, so give it a try. So here we are, almost 3 years later, and I haven't quit yet.
So today we're going to be talking about work-life balance, and I think that it's especially difficult in our line of work because we have a job where, people say it's really flexible, but really what that means is we're on all the time, right?
Right.
What do you think, Allison?
Yeah, I mean, it's really funny because right now I'm in a place where I'm like going through lots of learning experiences in terms of setting boundaries between like my personal life and my work life, and when it's appropriate to drop everything and run for people, and when it's appropriate to just be like, listen, I'm here to help, but some of these things are not my responsibility for you. Like, I am not going to be more than a realtor. And a lot of times it's hard to draw that line because you're like, I want to be helpful and I want to provide so much value and all of that. But also a lot of times you need to learn how to say no. And I really struggle with that. And I'm currently struggling with that. And so it's really great to have Sally here today because I feel like she has a handle on just being able to say, like, right now is family time and like this is non-negotiable. I find that really inspiring.
I know I personally have a kind of like people pleaser personality. And so it's incredibly difficult to say no because I never want to feel like I'm disappointing anyone. But it always results in me way overextending myself in all areas of life.
And becoming like too emotionally involved in whatever is happening in your business, because that just is unhealthy for everybody.
We have talked about how setting boundaries is important. And I think we all have found ourselves in situations before that caused us to realize we needed to set boundaries. Do you have any stories?
I pretty much work by referral, which I know you guys do too. So a lot of times we're working with people that kind of already know us, and I had to go show this property out in Suffolk one day, and I ended up having to take Lucy with me. And I knew the people pretty well, but they're kind of hard to read people, so you never really know like what they're thinking. And so we're looking at this house that they should not be buying, and I'm trying to talk them out of it, and it's hot. And I have a long, like, maxi skirt on, and the next thing I know, Lucy is, like, up in my skirt while I'm trying to talk to these people, and I'm also trying to get her out of my skirt without, like, revealing everything. So, yeah, that was pretty great.
Oh, my gosh. Wow, what about you, Allison?
I've had clients text me at, like, 11:30 at night and then text me at midnight and say, like, how dare you not respond at 11:30 at night?
Really?
Yeah.
Just say no. Just say no.
And so the next day at, like, 8 a.m., I was like, oh, I'm sorry. That is beyond my work hours. And it wasn't an emergency. Like, it wasn't, I don't think anything is truly an emergency in real estate.
Especially since most everybody else stops working at 5 and there's nothing you can do until the next day anyway.
Yeah, it was 11:30 and then at midnight, how dare you not respond to me? And I mean, it's a client I will never work with again. It's a client that was when I first said, or I first started telling my clients in buyer counseling sessions that you can text me within reasonable business hours, but if you're beyond those reasonable business hours, I'll probably get back to you the next day.
Yeah.
Or if I'm sitting on my phone, then I'll try my best to get back to you if it's something that I'm able to address. But like, I'm not going to drop everything at 11:30 at night to text you back.
Yeah, that's wild. I had a buyer and she worked graveyard shift. So the hours of the day where people are up and doing things were her like sleep hours, and then she would wake up at like 11:30 and go to work, and she couldn't talk while she was at work. We could only communicate at like midnight. Between like, I think it was like between like 11:30 and 2 in the morning or something like that were the only times that we could communicate. Her email address had some like creepy words in it. And I remember Sally being like, what? Like, who is this person? And then I told West, and he was like, okay, just be careful, like, when you go on your first, because this was an internet lead. So when I went on my first showing, he, like, Googled the words that were in, like, the person's email address, and it was, like, this really creepy, like, serial killer that popped up and all of this stuff. It ended up being, like, the sweetest lady. I think that she probably got the name from, like, a video game or something like that, because she played a lot of video games. But she was the sweetest lady, but I could only talk to her at, like, 1 in the morning. I remember thinking, like, this is so weird. Like, what do you do in that situation, you know? Like, obviously you want to make a deal, and we offered on, like, a few different properties, but that was the only time that she could be reached.
I'd be like, sorry, I need to refer you to someone.
Right. Well, yeah, and, like, sometimes you do stuff just to make it work. Was she a vampire?
That's what we thought for a second there. I mean, and she bought this, like, little itty-bitty like, she was a great learning experience, because she taught me that what is nice and big and, you know, all of these adjectives to one person means something completely different to someone else.
Right.
And she got an 800 square foot house that she thought was really big and really nice in an area that wasn't, in my opinion. I always thought that was a really good lesson to learn. Anyway. Okay, so Sally, what are boundaries that are important to you to set, and do they really work?
Kind of like what Allison was saying in her buyer counseling sessions. I kind of do this with my buyers and my sellers. When I go through the brokerage agreement, you know, there's always a little thing that says be available at reasonable hours to see houses or conduct business, or however it's worded. I always stop right there and I tell them, like, this is the part where I explain to you that just like you, I have a family, and I have times when I'm spending time with my family. That doesn't mean that I'm not available necessarily, but it means that if we're talking on the phone, you may hear other people in the background. You may hear someone trying to get my attention, because she never wants my attention until I'm on the phone, ever. While that may be happening, I am paying attention to you, but know that if you are calling me after business hours, that I may not be able to get to you immediately. And all of the time, people respond positively to that, because they understand that they have families, they have things that go on, they have things they have to attend to. But then I also try to be very proactive in taking care of their needs. So they do text me at 7 o'clock and it's something I can take care of, that I'll go ahead and take care of. If it's something I can't take care of, I'll tell them, hey, I got your text, I'll get back to you tomorrow. So they are always setting the expectation that you are actually paying attention to them and that you will get to their need, but it may not be able to be taken care of right now. And I found for the most part that it really does work, but you have to set the expectation in the beginning. And I think that's something I learned early on just from training and stuff when they would say, hey, you set that expectation, you control the transaction that way. And that's something I really took to heart. But I'm also a person that doesn't have a problem setting boundaries. I'm a person that doesn't necessarily, sometimes I do, but most of the time, if I need to say no to you, I'm going to say no to you. Especially being a mother, started motherhood later in life. I didn't have Lucy until I was almost 40. I think some life experience has also taught me some of that, to be like, what's important is what's in front of me right now. As I've been learning, if you are saying yes to something, you're saying no to something else. I did a cute little Instagram post about that a few weeks ago, is that I never want Lucy to be the one that I'm saying no to. So sometimes I have to turn things down that I would really want to do or that I think would be beneficial for me because I want to make her and my husband the most important things in my life. And so they're not the ones I'm saying no to, because in 20 years from now, when I decide that I don't want to do this anymore, I want to retire, they're going to be there. The clients that I've taken care of, they'll become hopefully friends and they'll be there. But if I haven't taken care of those two relationships, they won't be there when I'm done with this.
Right. And that's most important.
Do you think that being able to set those boundaries and say, I read your message and I'll get to it tomorrow, do you think that became easier as your career went on? I know for me at the beginning, especially with the first couple clients, I felt like, oh my gosh, they texted me. I felt frantic. I felt like I had to immediately jump on it and be there.
Oh, for sure. Do you remember my second ever transaction?
Zillow guy?
Yes. That was a lot like that. That was immediate response because I didn't know where I stood with him. I mean, yeah. I still don't. He never responds to anything I send him. But I think that taught me a lot because that was super stressful, and having a really young child and being able to take care of those things. I learned that. I think some of it came from my background and being an admin a lot and learning there that it was okay to say, hey, I know you need this, but this is... You don't actually say these words, but that's not on the top of my list for what I need to do right now.
You learn to prioritize.
Right. You have to prioritize, especially in this business when you can have your day set out and then 6 other things come along that just derail everything. Being able to say, okay, that's derailed. That's fine. I'll get back on that once I've taken care of this, but keeping that focus on the things that need to be done and being able to say, you know what, that's an emergency for you. That's not for me right now because I need to do X, Y, and Z, but I will get back to it. And I found that most of the time, unless someone's just super unreasonable, which there are unreasonable people out there, they get it. If you acknowledge, hey, I understand that this is an issue for you, but it's going to take me a while to find out an answer. So you're just going to have to hang loose until I can find the answer. Generally, they're okay.
You know what I just realized when we mentioned Zillow guy? Before I got married, when I was dating, my friends and I would never use the actual name of the person that we were dating. We always had nicknames for them. And that's what we did, the 3 of us, with our clients. Yes. My foreclosure guy, or my Zillow guy, or my land people.
Yes.
If you tell your office mates your clients' names, it's hard to remember what the transaction was. But if I'm like, hey, the York County people that were trying to buy stuff under $250,000, what those challenges are going to be. Which that doesn't mean anything to anybody that doesn't live here. So sorry, guys, but
that's so funny. Another thing I was thinking about, have you heard of the term burnout culture?
I've heard of burnout.
Okay.
For sure.
There's this feeling that we get that we need to just always be working. And you can feel this way a lot when you're even looking at other realtors' socials, right? Because they're like, all right, just wrote 3 offers, on my way to do an inspection, going to a walkthrough.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of stories that we see a lot of the time. And it makes me feel like, oh my gosh, I need to be working that hard. There was a time, I've had moments where that was what my schedule looked like. I personally feel this constant need to be that busy. And I've seen a lot of people talk about to try to not use being busy as a currency. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And
yeah.
It's really developed this burnout culture where everyone feels like they need to be hustling 24 hours a day. That's how they're going to make it big. And then now everyone's dealing with anxiety and depression and all of these side effects of it.
I think it's true. I mean, I think I faced some of that at the beginning, especially when you're new in the business and you're just I just need a paycheck.
Oh, yeah.
How do I get that is just by grinding it out and fake it till you make it. type thing. And what I've learned, especially in this last year, and Alice and I have talked about this a lot, is that everybody gets into this business for their own reason.
Yeah.
Everyone gets into it for their own reason, and everybody has their own set of expectations on what this is supposed to do for them or provide for them. No two people's reason are the same. You look around and you're like, oh, I'm not doing as good as that person. I'm not doing as good as that person. And my stuff isn't working and they're better at that than I am. It's putting those blinders on that's really worked for me this year, to pay attention to what is it that I need to do to get what I need out of this situation. And I can tell you that last year was not a banner year, but I learned a lot about that, about not comparing even other people's social media, because you can make your social say whatever it is you want it to say. Even if you're doing some things for another agent, but you take a picture of you doing it, everyone perceives that it's you is doing whatever it is.
Even if it's totally not true, even if you're just like,
correct,
like sitting on the couch watching Netflix, you can like post a picture of you like in a car a week ago and be like, oh yeah, grinding it out.
Correct. But coming back and focusing on what it is that you need out of this and how you can accomplish it has really taken some of that anxiety about I'm not good enough, I'm not the best at this. And that was something that was hard for me because like, oh, I may not ever be the best at this. I may not ever be number one. Is that something that I can work with? And I've come to the conclusion that I can, because just because someone's number one on the production board doesn't mean that everything else in their life is going smoothly and going the way it's supposed to go or how they want it to go. A lot of times if you're at the top of the production board, all you are doing is working. Yeah. And I'm not saying that working's bad, but I have other things in my life that I want to do than constantly be a slave to my phone and run here and run there. I want to be in control of that. And so I found the way for me to, for the most part, be in control of that. And that's what I've come to. It's like, okay, if I never make it on Rainmakers, which is like our
top producer category.
If I never make it on Rainmakers ever again in my whole entire life, but yet I'm getting out of this what I need to get out of it, then I'm successful. And then I also heard they were talking about how usually the most successful agents, and you can use success in any way you want to use that, are ones you've never heard of, because they're not spending their time trying to garner attention from everybody in the world. They're trying to garner attention from the group of people they need attention from. And so they're constantly working on, for me, I'm working on my sphere. How am I affecting my sphere? How am I ministering to them, for lack of a better word? How am I meeting their needs, even outside of real estate? How am I making their life better so that if they do run across a friend that needs something, they're going to think of me first because I helped them take care of, I brought them pasta, or I took care of their kids, or I invited them to our cupcake fundraiser, or whatever. I took care of them as a person as opposed to monetizing them and seeing what I can get out of them.
One thing that I've always admired about how you run your business is you capitalize. This sounds bad, but it's like you capitalize on the relationships that you have in such a cool and creative way. Instead of doing the traditional pop buys where you're stopping by people's houses, you show up to ballet where your daughter is doing ballet with a bunch of other kids, and you have something to build a relationship with those parents, or you do kind of something similar at church. You're always kind of working, but it's in a way where you're with your family, kind of like a good blend, which is really cool.
Yeah, I think the more you can blend it all together, the more you feel like you haven't missed out on either world. I see birthday parties that my daughter's invited to. We're going to the birthday party. We're going together as a family because that's what we should do, and she's been invited and it's her friend. But also, if I can have maybe one conversation with someone, or someone's like, oh, this is Sally, she's in real estate, that's a win.
Absolutely.
I've already done what I need to do. And so it's just setting that foundation to where people know that you care about them as a person and an individual, and not just what they can give you and what you can get from them.
That's great. I love that. I want to go do that right now. I also really like what you said about kind of redefining what success means for you, because I think a lot of time, I don't know, we let other people define that for us. Like what I just said, you see someone out there who looks like they're killing it and they're really breaking their backs to reach this level of what they imagine is success, and you think oh, that's success, that's what I have to do. For someone, success could just be living a balanced life and having a happy family.
Right.
And I feel like I should remember that more often.
Yeah, me too.
Allison, how do you set boundaries? What are your rules?
Well, so I tried to set like hour boundaries, like in my email signature, I have these are what my hours are. And if you're contacting me outside of those, then expect a response on, the next business day or whatever. I go through phases of like when that is successful and when it's not successful. Typically, it's because I have boundary issues.
Do you think that you have phases like that because you're either working with a client that doesn't respect those or because you just suddenly decide to overextend yourself?
I think it's probably a mixture of both. I'm one of those people that like, okay, I'm a words of affirmation person through and through. And I will do freaking anything to make it so that my clients are like, wow, you exceeded my expectations in every single way. So sometimes I think I get in my head a little bit about what people's expectations are, right? Like, I don't think, being on the outside looking in, do I think people expect responses late at night or immediately or anything like that? No, I don't think people expect that. I think they expect like some reasonable time between that. But it's weird because I've put this expectation on myself almost that I want all of my clients to feel like they're my only client at that time. And while that sounds nice and amazing, like it makes it so that I sacrifice a lot of what I feel other people have in terms of like a work-life blend or work-life balance. Like I feel like sometimes I'm a slave to my phone and I'm jealous of Sally being able to say no to stuff, because also like all of her clients, she's exceeded their expectations and, they they love her. And at the end of the transaction, they always say like, wow, you made it so easy. And so it's one of those things like, I think everybody has the goal of like having everything go really smoothly and exceed their clients' expectations so that, they can get referrals, they can get good reviews, things like that. But I feel like sometimes I put in my head people's expectations are higher than they really are.
Yeah.
And I think that might be a side effect of being in the wedding industry. Not that I want to like blame it on that, but I kind of do. I came from a place that like you can't effing mess up. Like you can't. And so I feel like I demand that excellence of myself when I don't necessarily, like my clients aren't necessarily demanding.
You just said something interesting. You said that what you came from is that you can't mess up. So do you feel like not responding right away is you messing up? Because otherwise you're not messing up. You're just...
Yeah. I mean, I just think there's always room for improvement in like every section of your business and life. And I'm in the place right now, I think, that I'm like learning the hard way, the things that I need to learn so that like in the future I can have the work-life blend that Sally has.
Sally, what do you think is it that makes people feel that they're like so exceptionally taken care of and that they're writing these great reviews about you?
So I've had some really easy transactions where everything's gone really smooth and we haven't had a lot of bumps. I think going back to the part where you kind of set the expectation in the beginning, but then as you go along to anticipate what it is that maybe this person is going to need and communicate that before the need arises, then they feel like I am on it. Even if I'm like, hey, we're going to go to this home inspection. The inspector's going to be there. I'm going to be there. He's going to go over these things. At least they know that I've prepared them for that and that what I said is going to happen happens. Even when we're trying to negotiate something, I'll tell them, hey, I'm more than happy to write whatever it is that you want me to write in this contract. However, they may counter at this, or they may do this, or they may say this. So if that does happen, they're prepared for it. So I think maybe that's the key, is trying to be proactive in what's going to happen next and how to explain to them this process. I had a first-time buyer come in the other day, and she was 67. She looked at me, she goes, I'm going to be really honest with you. I'm really scared. And I told her, I'm like, it's okay to be scared. You do not do this every day. I do this every day. You don't know what the process is. That's why we're talking through it. And that's why I'm here, is to hold your hand and guide you through. I'm not here to spend your money. I'm not here to make decisions for you. I'm here to make sure you have really great information to make the best decisions that you feel comfortable with. Yes, we are the professional. We are the expert. We know what's going to happen next, but just going back and reaffirming their fears, that it's okay to be scared. It's okay to be really excited and really scared at the same time. It's okay to feel the frustration of, but I want this, but they're not giving it to me. and knowing that, hey, we have to give and take. If this is the end game that you want, then we have to be willing to give up this, even though it might not make us happy in this moment. Anticipating, set the expectation of what's going to happen, and then just reaffirm their feelings. Usually when they're feeling frustrated, we're also feeling frustrated because we're just as frustrated at the situation as they are. It's just we have to maintain our composure. But I think that's where it's great to have people you can come back to and decompress and vent to that understand what it's like to do this job. Because as much as I love my husband, sometimes I can't express to him what it is because he wants to fix it for me. And sometimes I don't need it fixed. I just need you to acknowledge that I'm frustrated.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. We were talking about this the other day. I asked Allison, like, do you ever vent to someone that is like not exactly in the business and they feel like they can just give you all of this advice? My husband and a couple family members that are like, well, here's what you do. You sit down. Let me tell you what to do in this transaction that's going to make it all work out. First of all, you don't know. You've only bought one house. And second of all, like, I just want to vent. Have you ever had to fire a client?
I didn't really fire a client last year. So I had this condo that would not sell. And I told her in the beginning that she should rent it. And she was adamant that it was going to sell and that she was going to have a bidding war. So we sat on the market. We did price reductions. And it came down to it, and she finally talked to a property manager, and she's like, I think I'm going to go ahead and list it for rent. I'm like, great, let's do it. And then she called me about a week later, and she's like, I think I kind of want to take it off the market and just have it for rent. And I'm like, that's fine. I'll write up the withdrawal paperwork right now. So I didn't actually have to fire her, but it was very much a mutual parting of ways.
Yeah, I've never fired a client. Because I think I'm always fearful that, like, the second I fire them, they're going to go to another agent and they're going to buy something right away. And I've done all the hard work.
I don't think I've ever fired a client. I had one that I guess it was kind of similar. Like, he decided not to relist after the period because he had gotten a full price offer with very, very, very little seller concessions. And like, this was truly all that buyer could afford.
Yeah.
And he said no to it. He was like, it's not good enough. I think we should even go higher. I was like, oh, okay, this isn't going to work. And then he told, because I was leaving at the time, so the agent that took over me, he told her, like, I don't know what's with her. I don't know if it's because she's pregnant and, like, hysterical. But, like, she's really unreasonable. I was the unreasonable one. Anyway, I'm constantly trying to juggle these 5 or 6 things. And they are, you know, be a good mom, be a successful realtor, have a clean house, eat healthy and exercise, be a good wife. All of these things. And I'm only ever doing, like, 2 of them really well. Like, I feel like, ooh, I had a really good work day today, you know, but like, I did not pay attention to my son at all, and my house is a mess.
Yes. My house is never clean. I'm super the messy one in our relationship. So he's always cleaning up behind me.
Oh, me too.
And it depends on the day whether or not I feel like I've been a good mom. By the time bedtime comes, I'm just ready to be like, just go in your room and stop talking. I don't want to talk to you anymore. I don't want to hear any more stories, and
yeah,
I'm done. You know, I'm just done. And I feel bad about that. But at the same time, it's like, you know what? By the end of the day, everyone's tired. Everyone needs in that break. And as moms, sometimes we don't get that. We don't get that alone time. And if I feel like I'm done with stuff at like 2:00 and I can't pick up my daughter until after 3, it's okay to go get a pedicure or go home and take a nap or go home and catch up on my DVR shows or whatever it is that I need to do and not clean the house. Do something else. And sometimes I sit there and do that and I'm like, oh, I could wash those dishes. Nah, I don't think so. They'll still be there later after dinner. But that's taken me a while to get to as well. She is getting older and I do have less time with her at home. But I think what helped me with that is last summer my babysitter didn't watch kids on Fridays. So I started staying home on Fridays with Lucy, and I've kept that up through the school year. Of course, once school starts and she goes to kindergarten, I can't do that. But I think that's really helped me to at least have one day a week where my focus isn't on work. Because sometimes our weekends can be work focused as well. And that's what I tell people. I don't tell them what I'm doing. Usually I say, I'm sorry, I'm not available that day. I have appointments. And they don't question that. If it's someone I know well, they already know what I'm doing on Friday. And they're like, oh, you spend time with Lucy. And sometimes I'll go show a house with her on a Friday. Like we did that this past Friday because they knew her. And I said, well, I've got Lucy with me today. Can we do it Saturday? Oh, no, we can do it today. You can just bring her. It's fine. And if I feel like the person really means that and I'm comfortable with it, then I'll do it. Otherwise, I would have put them off until Saturday. But it's super cute because we pulled up to the house and we're sitting there waiting for them. And she has my phone or a tablet or something. And finally, she looks up at me and she's like, Mom, where are these buyers? They are taking a long time to get here. She also tells me every once in a while to have a really good, fun day with my agent friends and to be a really good agent today.
Aww, I love her.
She's like your little cheerleader.
She is. And that's the other thing you have to remember when you're momming. They love you no matter what. I can feel like I've just been the meanest person in the world to my daughter, and she'll turn around and give me a big hug. She's like, Mommy, you are the best mommy in the world, and I love you 115, because that's a big number to her. You're like, but I just like yelled at you, like, and I was just really mean to you, but you still love me. Like when I was pregnant with Lucy, you would read all this stuff on the internet, and the internet is not always your friend. And it felt like parenting had become this contact competitive sport. There's all these ways to do stuff, and if you don't do this, then you're messing up your kid, and if you don't do that, you're messing up your kid, and if you work, your kid's going to hate you, and if you stay home, you're going to hate yourself because you aren't contributing to the world. You know, there's all this stuff out there, and for me, I had to come back down to what is most important for me, what is most important to my family, to sift through that and know that as long as I am doing the things I know to do that are right and succeeding most days, and you're not going to succeed every day. Like I think on Saturday, Lucy had hot dogs for every meal. That's not a winning day feeding, but you know what? She ate, so it doesn't matter.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. On a day where, you know, I'm struggling, it's like, what did Eddie have? A piece of toast.
It's like,
and like some veggie chips. Sorry.
But, you know, they got fed, and you can give them vegetables the next day. It's all good.
So let's end this on a therapeutic/funny note. I want to hear if you have either one or both, either one really big pet peeve that you can't stand that clients or other agents or whoever it may be does in the business, and one embarrassing story.
Also called confessions, or can you not? Like, can you not be an asshole?
Okay, I've got a funny story. This is at the very beginning of my career, and I was showing rentals to this couple, and they were in the military, and he had this big Ford F-150 or whatever it was, and we had to take their car because they had a newborn, so they had to have the car seat and everything, and I am not known for my grace, and we get out at this house, and I'm wearing wedges, and I have to climb out of the truck. My foot hits the ground. There's something there that, like, you know, when you wear wedges, you don't always get good footing. So I hit something. I literally fell over flat on my face in the yard. He's getting out at the other side of the truck, so he hasn't seen it. So I managed to get up. And as I'm getting up, he comes around the corner. He's like, were you just on the ground? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. It's good. It's good.
Oh my gosh.
I think everyone has fallen at some point. Have you fallen, Alex? You wear heels a lot.
I feel like I
feel
should
like
have
you've
fallen,
fallen.
but I don't have any memory. But I did most recently almost die while walking down the stairs in my own house. I was like, oh my gosh, babe. Like, I literally almost died. Saw my life flash before my eyes. And he was like, well, what were you doing? And I was like, well, I was holding a giant basket of laundry in one hand and texting in the other. And he was like, you're going to need to be less stupid from now on.
Oh my gosh.
No, I'm sure I've fallen. I know I've done plenty of dumb things. Stay awkward.
Stay awkward, folks.
Yeah. Okay, do you have any pet peeves?
Why are you looking at me?
I'm trying to think. It's like I've worked with some really good agents for the most part.
There's like an episode of have you guys ever watched Sex and the City?
Yeah.
One of the first few episodes where this girl's like, I reserve the right to call you at 5-minute intervals until you pick up.
Yes.
About dating, but like that's how I feel about potential clients sometimes.
That's how I feel about contractors.
Oh,
Like,
true.
Answer the phone, send me an invoice.
Answer the phone, send me an invoice, don't hit on me, don't get drunk, and text me, and then have your wife text me the next day.
That happened to you. I remember that.
Can you not?
This has been such a fun episode. We're going to have Sally back for sure because I feel really inspired.
Yes, of course. I'm inspired by her every day. I'm lucky I get to sit next to her.
We have a codependent relationship. It's fine.
It's actually really unhealthy.
Oh.
She's on my speed dial. Like, Josh is like, why aren't I on your top 4?
Well, thank you so much, Sally, for coming on this episode with us.
Thanks for having me.
Where can we find you on social media?
I'm Sally Sells Coastal Virginia on Facebook and Instagram, or Sally Sells Coastal VA.
Sally Sells Coastal Virginia.
She also sells seashells by the seashore.
Great diction.
All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for tuning into this episode. As always, you can find us on @CallBeforeShowing on Instagram and Facebook. And if you have any requests for future episodes, please email us at callbeforeshowing@gmail.com.
Bye.
Have a wonderful day.